All right. I'm going to go first to. Okay, I'm going to go first to this part here, which is the Gemara that we mentioned yesterday. Okay, Ela bacha bakuk v'midan alachat. Okay, we're going to really try and focus on this Gemara. We're going to spend a lot of time on it. It's a Gemara in Makot Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Bet. Okay, you see it in Hebrew here. Bacha bakuk v'midan alachat. So what was happening? Remember, we said that God started with the the Gemara started with the 613 mitzvot, and then after the 613 mitzvot, after the 613 mitzvot, later generations kind of like cut it down, I guess you could say, and cut it down and cut it down. So that's something that we discussed. That's something that we discussed in general yesterday, right? We said, what does that mean? You cut down? That means that now there's not 613 mitzvot, right? Because they went from 613 to like 20 to 11 to 6 to 3 to 1. And Habakkuk comes, who was a Navi, and says, it was one mitzvah, ha'emidan alecha. So it wasn't that they were cutting out other mitzvot, but as the generations progressed, it was harder to focus, and we got to focus on just one mitzvah, and that mitzvah brings us to everything. So we'd spoken about this idea that you have to find your own place in mitzvot, and through that to serve Hashem. Okay, so that was the Gemara. We're going to go like really deep into it today. We're going to spend some time on it. Okay, Ela bacha bakuk v'midan alachat. Okay, I'll highlight it so you can read it in Hebrew. You can see it, right? Bacha bakuk v'midan alachat sheneemar v'tzadik be'emunato yichyeh. Right, a righteous person will live with his emunah. Okay, that's the core of everything is emunah. We need to understand that. Why is the core of everything emunah? Okay, I'm going to read in English. Habakkuk came and established the 630 mitzvot upon one, as it is stated, but the righteous person shall live by his faith. Okay, now this is the ritva. You see where, just nod your heads so I know that you're following me. I'm not just talking to a box, okay? Just when you, like, if you know what I'm saying. Here, you see, this is the ritva. The ritva was one of the Rishonim. He lived, let's call it around 1,000 years ago, Sephardic. And yeah, of course. He ate mabuha. And he wrote the following point. I'm going to read it in Hebrew. Bacha bakuk v'midan alechat shehamekayem ota mekayem kol haTorah. Someone who fulfills emunah fulfills the entire Torah. And now we need to figure out, right? That's something we need to discuss, is why is it that someone who fulfills emunah fulfills the entire Torah? I mean, what about Shabbat? What about tzedakah? What about tefillin? What about fasting on Yom Kippur? And this is one of the Rishonim. This is 1,000 years ago. He said it. It's less than 1,000, but that someone who fulfills tzaddik b'emanato yichyeh fulfills the entire Torah. V'hi amura b'shem karaui b'kabbalat elikuto v'yichudo. This is accepting God's oneness, right? God's yoke and his oneness. Yichudo comes from the word echad. Remember we spoke about, I'll shift up for a minute. Here. Remember we spoke about the 6 constant mitzvot? And we spoke about knowing that God exists. Yeah, du'u ki Elokim kayam, and al taminu be'Elokim mechurim, and Elokim hu echad, that God is one. So he's referring to that. The ritva is referring to knowing that God is one, and all malchuto, and accepting the yoke. What is a yoke? A yoke is like when you put on an ox, that big wooden thing that he puts his head in, and it kind of holds him in. That's called the yoke. Shenitztavenu be'parsha kriyat shema. When we say Shema, when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we're supposed to think, right? Hashem Elokeinu, he's our God. Okay, let's break it up. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, he's our God, which is here Elokuto. Hashem Echad, right, is the oneness of God. You're supposed to think all those points when you say the Shema. right? Hashem is our God, and He is one. What does that mean? He's one. So go back to the 6 constant mitzvot. Hashem is one. Is God exists, right? There is a God. Da ki Elokim kayam. 2. Don't al taminu be'elokim acherim. Don't believe in other gods. And Elokim hu echad, and He is one. So all these 3 are in the Shema, right? Shema Yisrael Hashem. If you're saying Hashem, it's because you believe in number 1, which God exists, right? Elokeinu, He's our God, and there's no other God, and that God is one. So all of that, the Shema is a very deep and sophisticated verse, tefillah that we say. Shekolelet kol haTorah, v'hainu dechtiv, and he quotes our, and the Ritva quotes our Gemara, Tzadik be'emunato yichyeh, right? Sheneemar b'chol hamitzvot asher yaseh otam ha'adam v'chai bahem. So once again, the Ritva reiterates this point that somehow Emunah is linked into the entire Torah. So now, I want to share with you a Midrash. You see the Midrash over here? Here's a Midrash. I'll highlight it. This is a Midrash Rabbah. This is the source right here. Midrash Rabbah, Perek Yud Chet. It's divided into sections, and it's Yud Dalet. Midrash Rabbah. You actually have it in English here. Breshit Rabbah 48:19. Oops. 8. Ooh, what is that? Oh, that's the pasuk is quoting. Sorry. Yeah, Breshit Rabbah 48:19. Okay, let's read it together. Hayipale ma'ashem davar. Who said Hayipale ma'ashem davar? Who remembers who said that? We learned
Hashem.
that. To who? To who?
To Abraham. When
Good.
he said,
Excellent. When what? What was the scene? Great.
why did Sarah laugh at me? Like, is anything impossible for me?
Excellent. Very good. Hayipale ma'ashem davar. The Midrash is going on the whole story of Abraham. Okay? The whole story of Abraham that, remember we said the story that Hashem turned to Abraham and said, I don't understand why she left. Right? So Hayipale, is there anything that's impossible to me? So says the Midrash. Look how it words it. Rabbi Yudan and Rabbi Siman Amar, Mashal le'echad, a parable, a story of one. Shaya bi'ado shte kaplot. He had 2 metal vessels. He says, let me explain to you what this means. Hayipale ma'ashem davar. When Hashem said to Abraham, Hayipale ma'ashem davar, is there anything that I can't do? Right? Is there anything that I can't do? When Hashem said that, so there was something here that I'll give you an example of what it means. He says a parable to a person who had he had these pots. Okay, holchan etzel nafach. He went to the metal worker, the guy who made the pots. Amar lo, he said to him, Atayachol taknamli. He had these pots in his hands, and he goes to the guy who makes, does metal, does things with metal, and he says to him, tell me, can you fix it for me? Mine's broken. Amar lo, he says back to him, the metal worker guy says, Livrotan kivat chila niachol. I can create these things. I can make them. Letaknam lach en yachol. I can't fix it. I can't fix it. If I'm the one that made it, how much more so can I fix it? That's the Midrash is saying. Ken hacha. So to hear. Livrotan kivat chila niachol. I create man. Lach ziran limenu utan en yachol. I can't make them young again. What's this Midrash saying? It's unbelievable. It's really great Midrash. This guy, right? This guy has he has these pots, and his pots are broken. So what does he do? He goes to the pot maker guy. Okay, this is potmakers.com. Okay, goes to potmakers.com, and he presses on the help button, and they chat with him, and he says, listen, I bought these pots from you guys, and can you fix it? One of the handles broke. Okay, can you fix it for me? So they said to him, what do you mean, could we fix it? We created the whole thing. We have the plans for everything. Now we can make it from scratch. Of course we can fix it. So the Midrash says when Hashem turned to Abraham, he says, I don't understand why, you don't believe that I could do it. I can create you guys. Of course I can bring you young again, right? But this is the idea, and we'll see it more as we progress. That real Emunah. Okay, guys, and it's very easy to say this, it's very difficult to live on this level, okay? But real emunah is living on a level that subconsciously, okay, we believe that Hashem could change and do anything at any moment. That's real emunah. But you know what a catch-22 is? You know what a catch-22? A catch-22 is like, there's a book, it's called Catch-22. That whatever side you take, you're kind of like caught. So on the one hand, you have to believe that obviously Hashem created the world and therefore he could do anything that he wants to it. But on the other hand, you have to live in this reality that we see. You have to work, you have to take medicine, you have to exercise, you have to sleep, you have to eat, right? So it's really like two different sides of the same exact coin. That's where the Jewish people are special. You understand? Like other religions, what happens? They take everything to a full extreme that they say like Buddhism, for example. They take lahavdil, they take materialism to a full extreme. We have to deny yourself and pull out of it. The Torah doesn't say that. The Torah wants you to be in the most immersed world, and we'll talk about it later. But look, and this is connected a little to Orchot Tzadikim, but look how many mitzvot are connected. And this is a very, very, very important point. Look how many mitzvot are connected to materialism. We make kiddush on wine. Tefillin are made out of leather. We eat matzot. You build a sukkah, right? Everything is connected to materialism. Why? Because our job is to see Hashem in the materialism. It's very easy to speak it. Very easy to just chitter chatter and preach it. But what the Midrash here is saying, he's saying, wait a second, I created this whole thing. So of course I can change it and fix it. You understand where I'm going with this idea, right? In today's time and age, right? And what's going on today, what pertains today with this Midrash. That like Hashem gave us this situation, he could take it equally away. Where's the challenge with it? Somebody asked me, I got a phone call from someone from Los Angeles this morning. It's not somebody that had a chance to go to yeshiva or even study in Jewish school at all. He said to me, he goes, I don't understand. Like, why should I even pray to God? He made this situation. You get it? Like, you're telling me to pray to God to to take away the situation, but he created it in the first place.
He just answered his own question. No?
His question is, exactly. It depends where you're starting from. If you're starting from the point, your pivot foot is that God created the world and everything is run by God. So then he created this. So we need to ask him and pray and do chesed, so he takes it away. But if you're coming from the point that God doesn't rule the world, then it's kind of like, what do you mean? Like he doesn't rule the world. So now he interrupted my world and got involved. So now I should tell him to step out. You shouldn't have interrupted to begin with. My life was fine. I was doing fine, chas v'shalom, without God. You get it? It depends where your pivot foot is. Okay? All right, let's go on. So, moving on. So that was the Midrash. That was the Midrash. Breshit Rava. Meshiluach has this, has this pshat on Vitzadik ve'emunah. Yeah. Katuv begmar is Meshiluach. It's a mefaresh. It's a commentary on it's a Hasidic commentary on the Torah. He says like this: Vitzadik ve'emunah ita begmara makot. Ba Chabakuk came Hemidan Halacha, and he put it on one principle. Nothing new. We've read that. But he adds like this: Ki Emunah. This is a focal point that I want to talk about for a little bit. Ki Emunah hu letzamtzem da'ato v'livtoach b'Hashem yitbarach. Okay, he says like this: real Emunah. Can you close the door? Can you close the window? Ki Emunah. What is real Emunah? Letzamtzem da'ato. Where are my Hebrew speakers? What does letzamtzem mean? What does letzamtzem mean? Letzamtzem means to make smaller, simpler, right? V'liftoach, right? When you person tzam, when he's fasting, right? What is he doing? He's not eating, right? He's letzamtzem means da'ato, means a person makes their mind in a way smaller. V'liftoach b'Hashem. Why does trusting God need what we would call tzimtzum, like almost making our thought process simpler and smaller? Why is that? Why is it that Emunah in Hashem needs that? Why does Emunah in Hashem basically, okay, the highest level of Emunah, right? What is Emunah? Emunah means that we're effectively believing in God. Now, there's a difference, okay, I want you to write this down. There's a difference between belief and knowledge, okay? What does that mean? Do we know that God exists, or do we believe that God exists? So the answer to that is very simple. If I tell you, for example, ready? If I tell you, hey, I have a pen in my hand.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, you need to write this question down because we're going to sit on it a little bit. Do we know that God exists, or do we believe that God exists? Okay, I'll explain it to you like this. Ready? If I tell you, hey, everybody, I have a pen in my hand, so you believe me because you know me and so on and so forth, right? But if I go like this, ready? Look at the screen. If I go like that, right? And I go, hey, I have a pen in my hand. Do you know or believe?
We know.
You know, right? Again, do it again because you guys are focusing on your notes. If I tell you, hey, I have a cup in my hand, and you'll say, okay, I believe you. But if I go like this, you'll say, oh, do you believe it? No, I know. Right? So do we know that God exists, or do we believe? The answer is right. We know that God exists. We know that He exists. It's not a belief. You know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world and is here and runs the world as He's showing us right now. Only God can do what's going on here in the world. Okay, that's knowledge. But why does He do it? And the goal and so on and so forth, and to that's called belief. That's where we need belief. That is where we need our belief. So Emunah has two there's Yedi'ah and Emunah. There's knowing and then there's belief. If somebody misses their bus, somebody loses their wallet, whatever, all these kind of things, and I tell you it's for your best, you don't know it because you have no idea why it happened. You have no idea why it happened. So what do you need? You need to believe. But in order to believe, we need to have simtsum hadat. We need to have a simplistic view. Why do we need a simplistic view? Because we can't understand. We can't understand. We can't understand everything that it's impossible to understand everything that God does. We can't even decide what we want to eat for breakfast. Or what we want to wear during the day. You want to tell me you can understand why God created the universe and how He does things in the world? So it's the same thing with I'm going to walk you with it into a little deeper level now. It's the same thing. Like, we know that the Torah was given by God. We know that God exists. Why God does things, that's a matter of belief. That's really where our work is, right? Because any person that goes to Bet Knesset on Yom Kippur, does Brit Milah, eats matzah on Pesach, okay, he knows God exists. Where is his work? In the belief part. We spoke yesterday, I think I spoke in this class, that one of the things we need for Emunah is patience, right? Going into a situation, or while you're in a situation, it's very hard to make sense of the darkness. That's what he's saying here. Look at these words. Ki emunah hu litzamtzem da'ato v'liftoach b'Hashem yitbarach. Right? True emunah is to have a simplistic view, is to get to the point where we could say, listen, I can kind of understand why God is doing this, but I don't fully understand why. Does it make it negative or bad? No, I just don't understand. I also don't know how a huge piece of metal can stay in the air for 12 hours, called an airplane, but it does. Right? Does it make it? It doesn't. It's not a flaw in the situation. Very important for us, guys. Very important for us. So it's really a big balance. It's really, sometimes we're fortunate and God reveals the reasons of why things happen. Okay, God reveals the reasons to us, but and I told you the story of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said that he was the leader of the Hasidim movement, and at the end of his life, right? At the end of his life, after he became this great Jewish leader, he said, now I'm going back to what? To Emunah Pshuta, simple Emunah, which is really like, to tell you the honest truth, which is really the Sephardic heritage, right? Which is really the Sephardic heritage. Like you look at our grandparents, or parents, like from back in, let's call it the old country, they had Emunah Pshuta. They had this like Emunah Pshuta, just simple belief in God, okay? And it was a different level. It's a different level. They didn't know how to read. They didn't know how to, like great grandparents didn't know. They didn't study like Rav Dessler and Yisharim and all that. Okay, very good. Hello. Okay, great. Let's continue now with Orchot Tzadikim. All right, so we were in Orchot Tzadikim. You guys see the screen in front of you? I don't know if I'm like doing everything right here. There's a billion things going on.
No, we don't see it.
Oh, this is complicated, man. I'm not going through this stuff. Okay, very good. So we have here Orchot Tzadikim. So now we're going to get to the real killer today. Today is going to be the big bomb. This is the big one, okay? So like kind of so much of what we've been talking about is reaching to this point. So we said yesterday about Nazir. We spoke about Nazir. What's the point of a Nazir? That he abstains from drinking wine for 30 days, and after, we studied this, right? We studied this together? Yeah, right? Nod or don't nod.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I studied with who anymore already. So the Nazir gives a korban, which is a sin offering, because he abstained from drinking wine for, let's say, 30 days, right? So the Gemara says, so he's saying, so if someone abstains just from wine, he brings a korban, right? Then for sure, someone who abstains from all the world's pleasures has to bring a korban. It's considered a sin. So make up your mind, says Orchot Tzadikim, like, is abstaining from materialism good for you? This is the question you want to write down. Is abstaining means refraining, okay? Is abstaining from materialism good for you, or is it bad for you? What's the derech over here? So he's saying, so that's basically where we are today. One who follows this course is called a sinner. For lo, it is said, I'm going to read it like super, like not Sephardic. For lo, as it is said of a Nazirite, and make expiations on his behalf for the guilt that he has incurred through the corpse. Numbers 6:11. Okay, sad to say that. It's basically what he Numbers 6:11, right? Deuteronomy. I have no idea what Deuteronomy is. Exodus verse 16:32. So saith the Lord. Sorry. Okay, so basically what he's saying here is that he has to bring a sin offering, and that's kind of what we discussed, right? Next paragraph. Haderech hayeshara be'adam. What is the proper way for a person? You see it? Sheyeh naki bechol inyanav. Ki hanikiut hu geder shel maasim tovim. Ketzad, how is this so? When he means clean here, doesn't mean like just clean with soap. Yilbash b'gadim benonim. You should wear moderate, respectable clothes. V'lo malbush aniyim, and not poor people's clothes. El b'gadim benonim. Ha'ani, this is key. Ha'ani lefi onyo, v'ha'ashir lefi oshro. You see it? The poor person in accordance with what he can afford, and the wealthy person in accordance with what he could afford. Everyone has to go by what they can afford. Remember we spoke about you have
just because you don't have it, you don't have to spend it. What happened to that?
This is because you need clothes, right? Right? You need clothes. So now you buy clothes in accordance with your level. Once you have it and you have what you need, beyond that is the stage of just because I have it doesn't mean I have to spend it. Okay? You know, I'm going to make
that.
He says here, Ha'ani lefi onyo va'ashir lefi oshro. The poor person spends in accordance with his level and the rich person in accordance with his level. You have to be able to respect yourself. Now, once you have what you need, once we have what we need, spending beyond that is the concept that we spoke about. Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to spend it. Okay? There's people who have like a hole in their pocket, right? They have money, they have to spend it. I have to buy something. I have to buy. If it's just for the essence of I have to spend it and you don't need it, that's not the place of mental and emotional health that we're talking about. Okay? All right. Hold on. 1 second. Any other questions on that point? I'm going to continue with it, but I want to take any questions before I get to it. Yeah? Anything else? So he goes into it here. Lo daicha mash asra Torah. Is it not enough for you what the Torah made asur for you? Like the Torah made things forbidden for you. Are you good with that just yet? Right? Are you good? Have you covered that just yet? Or are you busy with, if you haven't, then what are you moving on to other things for? It's really like a very good basic idea of balance. Balance. What does that mean? The Gemara says here, he's bringing the Gemara says, have you accomplished everything the Torah has told you to do before you make other things asur for yourself? No. You're supposed to have what you need. That's not called negative pride and arrogance. You need to go on vacation. You need to go out to eat. You need to buy things. You need to travel. You need to work out. That's called human. Once it goes above that, and you're just spending it because you have it, right? Then that's already something that's excessive. Now,
you'll never do what the Torah wants you to do. You'll never do all 613 mitzvot.
Okay, I'm not clear on your question.
Saying because you said that did you accomplish everything the Torah wants of you? So then are you able to
okay. So before you go to an extreme level, good, excellent. Before you go to an extreme level, why don't you work on accomplishing what you need to do first? Try and get to the 613 before you go extreme on something. Do you get what I'm saying? Like he's really talking to us about going deep as opposed to just going, wide. The Torah says, Chazal say, tafasta merube lo tafasta. If you try and conquer everything, you're going to be left with nothing. Right? If you work on 10 business deals at once, you're going to come out with nothing. Sometimes you got to focus on one. Same thing here. So the same thing is when you're working on mitzvot, okay, are you keeping Shabbat? Are you saying brachot? Okay, now that you started with that, go deeper with them. You understand? You see certain times people that are religiously uncompatible. You have this a lot of times when people are religiously uncompatible. Like they take it to an uncomfortable level. And that's not, you saw Ravad Yosef, Cham David Yosef, like the big leaders of our generation, the Sephardic big leaders of our generation, they're so normal. They're so normal. You could speak to them about food and wine and travel and all of that. And yet they're the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. Cham David Yosef, right? I know him personally, lives in Har Nof. I have a close relationship with him. Like, he's the biggest Talmid Chacham you'll ever meet in your life. Okay? So it's really about that. It's about taking things that you're doing and making them stronger. Let's go on. Okay? His table and his bed shall be clean, and all the things that pertain to him shall be clean, his own body, and so on and so forth. Now, this is the part I want you to focus on for a minute. When Hillel the elder took leave of his disciples, they said to him, "Where are you going?" And he said to them, "To fulfill a mitzvah." Then they asked him, what mitzvah are you about to do? He said, I'm going to take a shower. They said, that's a mitzvah? He said to them, yes. If you consider that the statues of a king, this is a great point, guys. I really want you to focus on this. If you consider that the statues of a king, which are set up in a theater and circuses, are scrubbed and cleaned by one, then the man who is in the image of Hashem, how much more so? So let me go over this, okay? The Gemara tells a story, okay? It's a Midrash, actually. The Midrash tells a story. The Midrash says that the students of Rabbi Akiva, of Hillel, were following him. They said, oh, Rabbi, you're walking around with a towel. What's the mitzvah you're going to do? He said, I'm going to take a shower. How is that a mitzvah? Where does it say take a shower? She says, what do you mean? If you have the palace of a king, and what do? They wash the chairs, they wash the floor, they wash all the furniture, making sure the palace of the king is clean, right? And he says, how much more so us that were created in the image of God, we have to be clean and respectable. But there's a deeper point to what he's saying. And this really hits our point on the head. We think that a mitzvah is something that's, tefillin, brachot, and so on and so forth. No, what was he doing? He was taking care of his physical self. Says the Orchot Tzadikim, the same book that we read that talks about the negativity of pride and arrogance and all that, the same exact book also tells us that taking care of your physical and emotional self is a mitzvah. What does that mean, mitzvah? It's a commandment from Hashem. So, ready? This is the clincher. This is the final point on from this perspective, that what? Anything that you need to create emotional health is will of Hashem, is Ratzon HaBoreh, is a commandment from God. Ki betzem Elokim asar adam. God created you in His image. So if you need to be listening to music, or you need to be doing yoga, or you need to chill out, or you need to, whatever it might be, that if you're doing it for the reason that it creates an emotionally healthy person, that is a mitzvah. That's not arrogance that he spoke about. When does it become arrogance? When does it become arrogance? When you don't need it anymore and you're still going into it. When you've satiated yourself. Guys, this is such an important point. This is really teaching us and teaching you as wives to be, Bezrat Hashem, how do you run your whole house based on Torah? How do you do that? You know how you do it? We have to understand that there's the mitzvot, and then there's living a healthy life. Living a healthy emotional life is part of Avodat Hashem. Like people say, how to use money for a mitzvah? When is money mitzvah? So, because you donate to yeshivot, right? And I buy a car and I go pick up, whatever, drop off food by poor people. Yeah, but that's not the only time. Just having a nice car and house is part of Avodat Hashem. Does anyone not agree with me? Does everyone see that he's saying that clearly? When does it become an issue? When we start to get into entitled mode. When we start to say, right, now I'm pushing it in an excessive way. Okay, I'll share with you a point of what's a good balance with this. I remember we moved to Israel, so whatever it was, 20 years ago, something like that. And after 10 years of marriage, we finally moved into our first house that we bought. So, the key point of a person's house is for your wife is the kitchen, right? Right? Guys guys don't care about the kitchen. We don't care as long as you can reach all the food from any point. You're pretty good with that. That determines for us what's considered a good kitchen. But for your wife, it's a big place. Fine. So we had ordered a certain type of marble for the kitchen. All right. And we spent a lot of money. I told you the story, right? We spent a lot of money and so on and so forth. And the Arab delivery guy comes and it's the wrong kind. And it's like a bunch of marble. So it's really predominant on the kitchen itself. Fine, he gets here and it's the wrong marble. Now, marble is not something that you could just change. It doesn't go away. It stays with you. My wife called me and she says, Chaim, what do you think? So I said to her, well, can you make do with it? Like, are you okay with it? She said, yeah, it's not what we ordered, but it's nice, right? That's the point where materialism doesn't overtake your personality. Why is that? Because if you lose yourself for that, then if you end up getting upset because of the materialism, then the materialism is in control of you. It's in control of you. If you actually get upset because your delivery is late, or they don't have this and don't have, I'm not talking about life-threatening, right? It's a regular, normal situation, okay? You actually get upset about it, that's clearly a situation where materialism has taken you over, right? I remember that example that I had with the kitchen in the house. It was like, somebody else would have gone ballistic on it. No, it's okay. Can make it work. It's fine. It's great. Right? So that's the aspect of entitlement, where arrogance, because then it's not a question of like, oh, this is good for me. It's like, oh, like, why do they do this to me? Okay, and that's healthy pride versus not healthy pride. All right, let's stop with this part of the class. We'll move on to the last part of the class, which is the halacha. So we've been talking about, and I said, Be'ezrat Hashem, on Sunday we'll move into Halachot Pesach. We were speaking about. We were talking about the halachot of brachot. So we started talking about Hamotsie, and what does Hamotsie cover? So I want to share, right? I want to share one part, which is another part in this is that once you make Hamotsie, we said it covers all the other foods that are part of the meal. Now, this is the part we'll talk about today. When does it not work? And you have to be careful with this. If you don't eat a kazait, right? If you eat a kazait, then that kazait, right, it's just like the size of a matchbox, which is not that big, right? But if you have just like a small little bite on Shabbat, then you haven't eaten enough bread in order for that bread to cover the rest of the food. Because you need something important. It has to be chashuv. Has to be important. So just to take a small little bite on Shabbat, you have to make sure that you're eating a kazait. So we said, what's a kazait, right? Kazait is, it's hard for me to tell you like over computer, but basically it's, the size of a regular matchbox, a nice little piece of challah, but roughly, I guess that size, I would call it. Okay, see if you can kind of make way with it. Okay. But if you just take a small little bite of the bread, then it's not going to cover the rest of the food that comes. It's not going to cover the food, and we spoke already about the fact that it doesn't cover the desserts. Okay, and if you're eating a kazait, you do have to wash on it. But if you're eating just a kazait, which you need to be careful about, then you don't say al netilat yadayim. You only start to say the bracha of al netilat yadayim. You're eating a kabetza and up, which is 2 kazetot. Okay? Which is 2 kazetot. I'll look for my kazayit book and I can show you some pictures that deal with it. All right?
Wait, you have to wash on kazait when you're having that and more?
Yeah, you have to wash netilat yadayim from a kazayit and up, but you only say the bracha of al netilat yadayim. Hamotsie, you say on any amount, right? We said the first bracha on the food, even if you dip your finger in a can of sugar and you taste it, you say shahakol. You have a little crumb of bread, you say hamotzi. But when do you say al netilat yadayim? From a kazait and up. That's why on Shabbat, when your dad's cutting the bread, make sure that you're having at least 2 kazetot, which is not that much. It's like half, I don't remember the exact, I have to get you the pictures. It's like half a pita or something like that. Not that much. Not so much. You can really do it. But Birkat Hamazon starts from a kazait. Every after bracha starts from a kazait, and so on. Okay, everybody? Okay, so we'll stop with today's class. And Be'ezrat Hashem will continue tomorrow.